I've been prepared for this. That's why I can be calm.
Yeah.
But while I was being prepared for it, I had anxiety about it. The anxiety I don't now have because I've already processed that in my isolation.
Ah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you get people like that, and this is why dreams and visions or a purpose scares people, because it's that questioning and self-doubt that how how
How do you explain
how
this?
is that how you know
Hi, everyone. My name is Helen Ajayi, and welcome to the Guided Expression podcast once again. If this is the first time you're getting in contact with this channel, I want you to click on the subscribe button so that you can stay updated to everything we're bringing out to you guys. And if this is not your first time, if you're not new, if you've been listening and watching us for a long time, I want to say a big thank you to you. Thank you for staying glued to this channel. It takes a lot. Thank you. And also, you can do well to share the channel with your family and friends. So, today on this episode, this is the third episode of the State of Mind series. And we're going to be talking about something between the mental health and hormonal health and how this helps us to maintain a good, a well-rounded, balanced life. And I'm not here alone. I'm here with a seasoned counselor, and she is Dr. Eduse Maria. So I want to say thank you for joining us. And she is the CEO of the organization called Your Pinnacle Global Initiative, and she's here with us on the channel today. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr.
thank you
Maria.
so much for that humbling introduction. I'm really honored and privileged to be here with you.
Thank
I
you.
think what you do is absolutely beautiful
Thank you so
inside and
much.
out,
Thank
and
you.
it's needed.
Thank
And
you.
I'm honored to be on your platform. So
Aw.
thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Thank
It's
you.
fine.
So the topic today is we're saying mental health, your mind in balance with hormones. So it's a connection between your state of mind and your psychological health and your physical health. So there is no way we want to talk about what happens up there and we leave out what happens in the physical body. And usually your hormones, the chemical balances in your body system will also influence how you react to stress, how you deal with normal life occurrences. You have to wake up, do the things you need to do. There is a saying that says that the most important skill a man can earn. And I'm using the word earn right now because it takes a lot. It's not something you get on a platter of gold.
Of course.
You have to work towards it. So the most important skill a man can earn is the skill of feeling the way you feel and still being able to do what you need to do. Because the way you feel is going to influence how you react. But knowing the difference between how I feel and what I need to do is very important. And that's why so this conversation is like bridging the gap.
Yeah.
You need to understand how you're feeling, what is bringing about this feeling, and actually what do you need to do. You have goals, you have things you want to achieve, and there are things you need to do to make sure you achieve those goals. So how do you make sure that you regulate your feelings, you regulate your emotions while you still do the things you need to do? It's a whole lot of work. Saying it sounds like something very easy, but it's not. It's not. And if we're talking about unveiling identity, this is a conversation we're going to be having on this channel for a long time, because unveiling who you are, understanding who you are, the truth of you, the depth of you, it's very important to everything that you do.
Yeah.
You can't just go around doing things because people are doing them. You cannot just go around, having conversations, doing things, getting involved with so many things that are not related to the source, to who you are, the depth of you. So what we're trying to do is every conversation that involves bridging that gap is what we're going to be doing, so that we help you progressively. It's not going to be something that happens over the night. Will help you progressively get to that point where you discover who you really are, and you get to a point where you're actually living the life. That's the goal. We don't just want to keep surviving and we want to thrive.
Of course.
We want to live that life. So she's here to, help us break it down. All right. So I'm just going to ask you this question. How do you think mental health is connected to our physical well-being?
Thank you. As I always say, that's a very big question.
Yeah.
And I think we now live in the day and age where we used to think everything was health, physical, evidence, health. But now it's beyond clear that, everything starts from the mind, everything starts from the internal processes that we go through. And, we cannot deny the fact that they are interlinked. If anything, they need each other. For example, when I've learned that when the body is tired, something we know internally, we know that the body is tired. But because we have to go to work, because we have to do this and do that, we keep going. We don't listen. But then the body will get to the stage where it will force itself to break down. And that's when we get sick and something happens, something triggers. What the mind has sent is a signal to the body to force it to break down, to the extent that, if God forbid you get bedridden. Or you have to, go to the hospital. It could start from something as simple as a stomach upset or a headache, but that's your mind telling you that something needs to be done and you need to stop. But as human beings that we are, that we want to achieve and evolve, we never learn to stop. So that's something I'm going to talk more about.
Okay, that's interesting because I also realized that, just the way nature is, we have this in biology, we have this food chain where this predator depends on this and this depends on that. And if there is no constant supply of this will suffer and all of that. So I feel like in our body and in life generally, there's always the need for that balance.
Of course.
So if your body is demanding you to take rest and you don't, it's going to take it at all costs.
Yes.
And so it's going to cause like breakdown and all of that. So it's easy to say that you want to like take a rest because your body is demanding it. But those are things that you actually feel.
Yeah.
I believe that there are some other things that happen within you that by the time you're actually feeling them, it's late.
Yeah.
And this is where the conversation around hormonal balance comes in. So what are this hormonal health thing? What can you expatiate more on them?
Well, if we're talking from a biological perspective or a automatic kind of balance in your body, I mean, we have many hormones. We have the good feeling hormones, which are the dopamine, and all those feelings that
those are the ones I like.
And it's funny because so many different things would trigger that for so many different people. So what would trigger that for me would be different. It would be different for you.
Okay.
Someone simply looking at the ocean.
Okay.
That is enough for them to trigger that feeling.
Does that speak to who you are? Does that speak to what you're made of?
It speaks to your mindset. It speaks to your mentality. It depends on from which perspective and the reason and the intention behind why that brings you joy. And that's something very deeply rooted to every individual. Something as simple as cooking. Something as simple as cooking. If that's what you enjoy, if that's what you're good at, it's something that will trigger your good feelings or your, biological senses to kind of erupt and start to move. I've been saying recently that, I can see, and I'm learning even through my own profession and even through working with different individuals, because being a counselor and working with individual people, they are letting you into their life. They are letting you into their mind. And, you see how complex each person can be. But at the same time, you see this symbolicness of the universe. I've learned that every individual, you yourself as an individual, within you are a whole universe. We use other words for that, such as an entity. You're an entity in itself. And that compiles of what's going on in your mind, your thoughts, your upbringing, your background, what has influenced you to be where you are right now, what have inspired you to be where you are right now. And it shows you how complex human beings can be, but yet how beautiful and unique in their own rights. So, many things can trigger those good feelings. The hormonal balance, it's completely different, especially when you have maybe family health concerns or underlying issues as well. One thing will trigger another thing. And if you're not careful, if we're not quick enough to identify what's triggering what, we'll just see the results. We will not know the source.
We won't be able to trace it.
It won't be traceable. But because as human beings, we've not been taught to just stop, to just check in with yourself and just kind of ask yourself, where am I?
We're so used to keep going. Let's go. Let's go.
Because the body is always speaking, the mind is always speaking, the spirit and the soul is always speaking. But are we listening?
Yeah.
Because we're very distracted. And, we have this temporary feel, there's this temporary, people who, for example, I mean, some people find it, comfortable for them. It's a form of therapy, unfortunately, for people who smoke or drink, but that's a temporary. That's really, really temporary. You're suppressing those hormones, and that's because you don't understand it. When you don't understand something, you kind of withdraw from it, and you kind of find something else to cloud it. But when you notice that, flowers, I don't know what it is about flowers. Maybe it's not everybody likes flowers.
Yeah.
As beautiful as it is, some people might think it's beautiful. Some people might sneeze at the smell. Some people might find just the smell of it beautiful. Some people might find the smell disgusting. It shows you how much our senses are so different. As much as we all have this, sense of smell, but what we're smelling, it will be different to everybody.
Yeah.
Same thing with food, or maybe different culture of food will trigger these feelings in you. And sometimes, to learn to balance that, you need to ask yourself, what do I like? What don't I like? If you know what you like, you stick within your remix.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you like and somebody invited you to a flower show, if you know you don't like flowers, you wouldn't go.
Yeah.
All these things is about mastering and listening to our biological body, which is always speaking. I kind of feel like our biological body speaks louder than our mental. And that's something as simple as hunger. We've been programmed to think that we must have breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
Even when you're not hungry, you assume that between the time of 12 or 3, you should be having lunch, even if you're not hungry. Likewise, if you were to drink water, you will still feel bloated.
Yeah, true.
So it's there's a lot of things that is influential that I guess we could say has been embedded or influenced into us through society, through common beliefs, through the norms,
Culture as well.
and culture, and sometimes religion. So it depends on what is the norm. If the body is very distinctive in how it functions and how it processes thoughts, feelings, emotions, environment is a massive factor that we don't talk about. And I think that's something that we do need to explore. Environmental, very, very important.
Okay. Wow, that's really nice. Thank you very much for that. So looking at the way hormonal balances are for different people, you've explained that it depends on who we are, our experiences, probably what we've been through, and being able to identify what triggers you or what makes you tick.
Yeah.
Like things like that. Being able to know what those things are for yourself, it will help you to listen well, even when your body is speaking. But if you don't know, then even when it's speaking, it's going to be easier for you to just ignore.
Yeah.
Right. So, but then, how would you expect people to take, for example, you're in a space where you're not really that kind of person that does more of reflection. You don't really reflect on what goes on in the past years. You know how people will start the year with New Year resolution and all of those things, but you're not that kind of person that really does resolution and all of those things. You have dreams, you have goals, you just want to achieve, and what you just want to do is get up and go. How would you advise that kind of person to, let's even start from clean slate, how do you want to make sure that you're balancing your mental health, and the way your mental health and your physical well-being? How would you describe that?
I think as time goes on, when you were speaking, what came up for me was the word denial. I think as individuals, we deny ourselves of what our body needs, what our internal person needs,
Okay.
what our emotion needs, what our feeling needs, what our mind needs. Um, because we deny ourselves, we don't make time to reflect. People that reflect, they are people who are still kind of finding themselves. But we have people who assume they have found themselves until something happens and changes the narrative of what they can endure or what they can tolerate. So, for someone who doesn't know how to do that, one of the advice I'll give them is, again, we need to be kind to ourselves
Yeah.
enough to understand that we deserve to make sure that we're okay, make sure that we know what's going on, make sure that we have what we need. There's always this concept of, is it what we need or what we want? Is it what we want or what we need? As human beings, we want a lot,
Yeah.
but do we need a lot? And sometimes what you need depends on the seasons and the time and the environment. Is it convenient? Is it realistic? Is it beneficial? Even people who aspire, this is why we struggle with fulfillment. Even people who aspire to achieve certain things, when they get it, some people might be able to relate and say, even after getting it, is a question of, is that it?
Yeah.
Because even upon that, there needs to be something greater than that to challenge yourself. But if you don't know what you need, recently I was talking to somebody, and I just, I've always known this, but it just becomes more and more apparent that as human beings, we truly don't know what we want. We think we know what we want.
Okay.
There's very few people who know what they want, and they know that because they've spent time with themselves. The concept of waking up, going to work, moving, can also be a distraction for some people because they're not ready to truly meet that inner self.
Meet themselves. Yeah.
But people who maybe should we say introverts, they are comfortable with themselves. That they're contented with that self person that they are left alone with. But there's some people who can't be left alone with themselves. And that's something that I think should scare us, really.
Yeah.
And I say that because, how can they find a way out if they're not ready to face themselves? How do we want other people to be able to accept us or understand us when we don't understand ourselves? It's really powerful to reflect, because reflection is, there's so many ways you can do that. There's an exercise that I do offer to some people, clients as well.
Okay.
And it's very, it takes a lot of courage to do that. And it's a very simple one. It's just you looking into the mirror. You're not looking at your body, you're not looking at your hair, you're looking at your eyes.
Just your eyes.
Just your eyes.
Okay.
And, it's almost a gateway into the inner self,
Oh.
into that universe, into that, it's a gateway. And, if anybody can find themselves, I mean, of course, I do say that, in all honesty, I do say, I cannot predict what you see. What you will see depends on what is within.
Yeah.
But it's still a part of trying to find, who am I? Who is this person? What do I need? What do I want?
I think something like this has happened to me before. So I can remember there are times that I just look in the mirror and I'm telling myself that do you really know this person, or you only know the person that other people know? Like it feels like there's someone else in there.
Of
Yeah.
course.
And you're not sure if you've met that person, because you're probably relating with the person that everyone else is relating with. So like, oh, I want to meet you.
Yeah.
Who is this person?
Yes. It's a risk to put yourself in that position,
Yeah.
because what if you're not ready to meet that person? You have to be in the right state of mind to want to find yourself or reintroduce yourself or ask those questions, because some people can't handle the truth,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure people do it all the time, but they might not realize. I can imagine somebody who's upset, who might have gone through a breakup, and just looking into the mirror and just asking themselves, is it my fault?
What
Am I
have I
really
done
that bad? What
wrong?
have I
Yeah.
done? But because they will not take time to truly receive the answer they're looking for, it's just a matter of an outburst, really, and just kind of expressing that emotion in that way. But if they were to really take time to just stare into their own eyes, and just, I've had feedback, I've had testimonies with this exercise. Some you would not believe, some you would. Some goes as deep as, people just go into a vision-like state and seeing a vision,
Okay.
or seeing almost, like an entry to like a realm, which they would explain and they would describe, and that's why I call it portals. I use the word portals,
Okay.
realms, a lot, and that's just because people who have the ability to see other people's minds, maybe a gift of telepathy, I guess, would be able to understand that there's more beyond the outer or the external person. There is an inner person. So if I think the most I've received in feedback would be someone who was able to hold that connection for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
because even getting to 1 minute is a task, and it's not something that you can do at once.
Yeah.
Because you might get to a point where it would trigger something even biologically, where you would feel uncomfortable, you would, something would change.
Yeah.
And
Your body can remember some things that you naturally would not
yeah,
remember.
yeah, and I mean, it could also cause flashbacks, for someone who might have had a traumatic experience. So it's something that you do, that when you feel like you can, it's something that you do for 10 seconds, 50 seconds, a minute, and build it up until you feel no longer comfortable. And it's not something that you can do in a day. It's something that it's just a practice, and it's a connection, it's a searching, it's almost, she would say, soul searching,
Yeah.
when you kind of do that kind of experience. And you, again, we're talking about opening Pandora's box sometimes. As much as when you do open it, you have to be mindful that you're in a safe space or you have someone who can close that and bring you back. Of course, it will leave you psychologically drained as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that insight. So I feel like the topic is we're digressing a little, and I like it because it's bringing me to this kind of conversation where it gets to a point where in life it feels like you're looking for something. You're looking for something, and like you said, it gets to a point where you feel like you've gotten to that place you're going to, but yet it feels like you've not gotten there. So what is it? What is missing? So some few weeks back, I got this insight about, there's something that's always calling your attention. We naturally would want to ignore it because it's not convenient,
Or
because
familiar.
it's not familiar to the physical world. It's not familiar to the natural, to the me that people see, that people relate with. It's not familiar to me. But then somehow your mind, your soul is just so much in connection with it, that until you get to the root of it, until you identify what that thing is, you feel unsettled. And this is actually the birth of the name of the brand, Ayoba. I'm just kind of led to talk about it in a way. So Ayoba, as it is, normally is a Yoruba word that talks about a significant other half of a king, the king's favorite wife. And in history, this person would normally be that person that will probably not be the most beautiful, will probably not be the wealthiest or the one that gives the heir to the throne.
Yeah.
But it's just this person that is so in tune with the king that even the king cannot say why. The connection is just there. So for every one of us, our Ayoba is that thing that drives you, that thing that until you're able to get hold of, you just keep searching. Aggressively, you're searching until you find it.
Yeah.
So this is really, it's everything is coming together, and it's quite interesting because eventually all this conversation is bringing you back to who you are. It's bringing you back to understanding and identifying that thing that drives you, identifying your Ayoba, identifying that things that keeps you alive, that helps you to thrive and not just live or not just survive and just live life the way you should live, and not just because of what people feel you should do, but you're doing that which you think it's the right thing for you to do. So I want to turn back the question to you, like, how do you think people can really find their Ayoba? How do you think people can really find their drive? Because believe me, it's something that is always in our faces, but we try to ignore it a lot. And it's probably from fear of the unknown. You're just scared of uncertainty. You're scared of what will people say about me? What will my friends say? This is so different. It's not usual. It's different from what the world knows. How do I live in this? But yet you can't run away from it. So how do you think people can find this link?
It's a very big question. It's a very deep question, because the reason I say it's deep is because it's so different for everybody else. It's different for certain people, and it takes me to what you triggered for me right now is the name of my brand, which is Your Pinnacle, which your pinnacle means the heights of oneself. Everything we're looking for, we think is outside. But when we realize that it starts from inside, it will be enough. At each stage, it will be enough. Of course, there'll be other stages, there'll be next stages, but even at that next stage, it will be enough. Being mindful of timing, being mindful of destiny, being mindful of the process and the journey of it. They always say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, things like that. So, you have to really be mindful that, okay, something is calling, and there's a big emphasis on that word calling. There's always something that's calling. It's calling. It's almost the universe itself will shape things to make it come to pass. And and this is why what flows from within us will make a way. Does that make sense? It would naturally make ways. People say to me all the time, I mean, yes, there's many counselors in the world, but that is it's not a job for me. It's who I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the core of you.
Yeah, it's just who I am, and luckily for me, I was able to link that person with a profession.
Yeah. I think that's the major part that we don't understand. We're unable to like link it to a profession. We just feel like, everybody just feels like I need to get a job. Because I need to pay my bills. I need to make a living. But it's really hard to connect that calling to...
You can't be fulfilled if you're in an environment that you're just managing, or you're just there because you need to make money. Eventually you get to a point where you ask yourself, there's so many people who has done many jobs and then later change completely, and because they will get to a point where they will start to search within and ask or say, this isn't who I am, this isn't me, I'm not enjoying it. A job that you wake up in the morning that you can't wait to go to work, that in itself is enough to say that that's your calling. But a job that you wake up in the morning and you're dreading going to work,
you're dragging yourself,
even the night before you're already stressed. If you have a horrible manager, for example, the anxiety will start from the night
Yeah.
before. You might not sleep well. You might even have a dream. It will trigger so bad that it will go into the spiritual realm, and you might have a dream, and that in itself will unsettle you for the rest of the day. So even the energy that you're taking into work, it's already been kind of diminished.
Yeah.
So your performance will be low anyway.
Yeah.
But when we do things that involves passion, inspiration, and motivation, your manager doesn't need to tell you to do anything.
Yeah.
They will just see that the passion is
see
there,
it, yeah.
and the commitment will be there as well, and the
Yeah.
determination.
Yeah.
It's big.
It is. It's really big.
Yes,
So that brings me back to the ideology of being in a space where you're giving in. So a disclaimer quickly: the fact that we're saying you could be in a workplace, or you could be going to work, and you don't have the passion, that doesn't mean there are times that you just want to do some things for a short period of time. You know your destination, you know where you're going, but there are some things you need to do. We have this hustling spirit.
Yes, of course.
There's some things you need to do so that you have enough money.
It's all a learning curve as well,
Yeah.
isn't it? I think when you do find yourself in that position, you can ascertain that this isn't what I want to do forever. This isn't what I want to do in the long run.
Yeah.
And sometimes, that kind of situation can push you in the long run to be where you need to really be. But sometimes we need to experience that. Even that temporary situation, that temporary job, we sometimes need to experience it. That's all still part of finding ourselves. So sometimes we're in temporary positions because it's just the time to be there. If you're not there, you would never know whether you want to be there or not. You would never know whether you get people who might go into a organization as maybe a administrative officer. But as time comes on, opportunities might come up, and that opportunity to go maybe into the tech department might come up, and then you find your calling. So, I think one of the prayers is don't let us be at the wrong place at the wrong time, really. But no matter where we are, we're there for a reason, and it's all part of the process. I always think about the bigger picture is the universe. That's how big the bigger picture is. And every little experience, every little interaction, every little meeting, every job you've had is a piece of that puzzle. And it all has to come together. If not, it won't be a full picture.
Yeah. Talking about times and season, you mentioned something about times and season earlier. And it's so intriguing because just a few days ago, I was reading through a write-up. So I do a lot of writing. Like I like to put my thoughts on paper.
Journaling.
Because I always go back to them and I get insight a lot. When I'm trying to solve some riddle, I don't understand some things, I go back to something I've written. I'm like, okay, the answer is here. You've answered the question before the question came. It happens like that for me a lot. So a few days back, I was just going through this write-up, and I saw something I wrote some weeks back about times and season, and understanding what you need to do at a particular point in time. So there's a point A, there's a point C, there's a point B. So let's assume point A is the season of your life that you're in.
Yeah.
And point C is where God is actually taking you to. Then point B, the in between, is bridging the gap between the two. You know that where God is taking you to, you might not really understand it at this point. Then in this season of your life, the purpose of the season is for you to develop some traits, gain capacity that you would need where you're going to actually. So the point B, the middle point, this is where you bridge the gap, is where sometimes you feel so lost.
Yes.
You don't understand what is happening. You cannot, God has given you the word. You have the word. You know that you're meant to do this, right? But you cannot just, it's not linking, it's not clicking.
It's not making sense.
It's not making sense. It's just, it's like madness. It's not making sense. But then this thought came to me that the middle part, the part where you bridge a gap, is where you stay in tune with the Holy Spirit and you get daily instructions, you get directions. You're not just looking at the destination like, I'll get there someday.
Yeah,
I'll get
somehow,
there.
yeah.
But you're getting constant direction. You're not just doing things because you want to maintain your hormonal balance. You're not just doing things because you want to stay mentally okay, but you're getting directives
Yeah.
pertaining to your life. And this makes individuality beautiful, and it makes the whole universe beautiful, like you
Yeah.
said, because we are all different, yet we are together. We are all part of this masterpiece.
Yes, of course.
And being able to listen to your mind, because the Holy Spirit will always speak to you through your soul, from your spirit to your soul, then to your mind, and you get the instructions and you know what to do.
Yeah.
So I feel like when we get to that point where we feel so lost, we're not sure what to do, sometimes we don't even understand what is going on in our body.
Yeah.
You have so many chemical things are happening. You're just so lost. You don't know how to explain it. And, it comes back to what you said about isolation, being comfortable with yourself, being able to listen to that, what your mind is saying to you
Yeah.
as to what next to do, what other step to take. So this is not like a question, right? But I just want you to share with us, how do you normally bridge the gap? That I just explained how I do it,
Yeah.
what I got from my reflection. How would you normally do it?
What you just said reminded me of something that this would be the best place to share.
Okay.
That in terms of really linking to your topic, when we talk about the hormonal, the biological, and the mind. Now, I've learned that people who have the spiritual insight or have a spiritual download
Yeah.
and revelation spiritually, because they've seen where they're going, because they've seen the parts C,
Yeah.
automatically the mind is ready, but the situation and the body is not
It's
there
not
yet.
there yet.
So it's like, people say, where are you? For me, I'm not in this time, because even this, I've been prepared for this. That's why I can be calm.
Yeah.
But while I was being prepared for it, I had anxiety about it. The anxiety I don't now have because I've already processed that in my isolation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you get people like that, and this is why dreams and visions or a purpose scares people, because it's that questioning and self-doubt that how
How do you explain this?
how is that how you get people who might be managing a little one bedroom,
Yeah.
and they see a vision of a mansion and they're thinking, how am I going to go from that to that? It's the gap is too big.
Yeah.
Again, but that's because we have limited our own imagination and our own creation and our own creativity and the possibility to human
Thinking.
thinking, to human processes. But like I said, the universe already knows where we're going, what we're doing. It's interlinked, so it will make a way. And there's so many things. I mean, we live in a world where there's evidence of that. When we look at maybe TikTok influencers that started off on TikTok and now they're doing what they enjoy. What they were doing for fun has become their job.
Yeah.
Whether they knew it or not, whether they planned it or not, destiny, whether they like it or not, has fulfilled itself. But there's people who want to control that. By controlling it, you are limiting it,
Yeah.
because we don't know the full plan. We only see maybe 20%. Even some people see 10% and they get ahead of themselves.
Yeah.
But it's if we are patient, it's very hard to be patient.
It is.
Especially when we live in a world when so many people who might be like-minded or be of the same age, they're doing more and beyond.
Yeah.
And it's, as much as we say that, we shouldn't compare, we can't deny the fact that there is an attribute in us that must compare.
Yeah.
It must compare. But if you're someone who's contented, you will be happy for the other person. Even if you're going to copy, you might copy the courage and the confidence and the boldness to pursue their dreams. Why can't you do the same for your own? So, for me, how I also bridge the gap is because I've learned that, my littlest visions has come true. What scares me is my bigger visions, because my littlest visions, my medium visions.
Yeah.
To me, I'm calling it medium, small and large,
Yeah.
but to God, there's no such thing.
Yeah.
To him, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. But to me, the fear is my smallest, my most medium, even my biggest has come true, and my biggest, even after that,
Yeah.
is still coming. And because I've had the opportunity, maybe because of my job,
Okay.
I think it makes it easier for me to quickly reflect, makes it quicker for me to, stop and just think that, okay, what's happening right now? And, so I'm very quick to just allow the body. When I go through my anxiety episode, it's a very uncomfortable feeling. It's just my heart might beat fast, and that's because I'm seeing something that I think is impossible.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I'm seeing something that I'm thinking, little old me, who am I? I'm just another counselor out of many. But the route God is taking me through is different to some other counselors that I know. But I'm okay with that because it interlinks with my calling.
Yeah.
Being a spiritualist myself, it's, I can't help, but I can't take that part away. That for me is my true calling. And within spirituality comes healing. And I always say that, to heal others, you need to have first healed yourself. So you have to spend time with yourself. You have to isolate yourself so that when those shocking or anxiety provoking thoughts and feelings comes in, you're in a safe space. And then when that reality comes to pass, somebody else might say to you, wow, I can't believe this is happening. And you're just thinking, yeah, it would be nothing for you, because the more you get people who don't process it, and then they will be like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening. But that's because it's just worked out that way for them, where when it's happening is when they have the time to process. But you get people who process before, and you get people who have to process after. You need to know what kind of a processor are you.
So it's always, it boils down to understanding who you are.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is like a daily task. You need to make sure that every day in your conversation with people, in the way you react, the way you reflect, everything you do, you should constantly try to identify who you are, because everything comes back to who you are.
Yeah.
Whether it's business, whether it's work, family, it comes down to who you are. Experiences will influence you,
Of course. Yeah.
but then at the end of it all, the person that you are at your spirit level is the game changer.
Yeah.
It influences every other part of you.
Definitely.
And I just want to encourage everyone watching and listening to us today. We are having this conversation not because we're not experts in these things. We're learning ourselves and we're growing every day. And that is the level we want you to get to as well. Be in that state where you're not surprised by yourself. You're learning, you're growing daily. You're not satisfied because you've been able to achieve something you plan to achieve. No, you notice that the more you grow, you pick up lessons, you build capacity for the next stage of your life, and it gets better and better. In fact, it gets to a point where you be like, how did I get here? you know that saying.
It's a question we can ask each other, really.
I mean, you get to a point that you be like, oh, I think this was my prayer point years back, and I'm living the life.
Yeah, honestly.
So it's a daily work, and you need to make sure that you're doing it passionately. You're not doing it in a way that it reflects what people would want to see, but let it show what you are revealing, what the inner you are
Yeah.
revealing. So that goes a long way in unveiling identity and self-discovery. I mean, that is the basis of everything we're discussing. So I really want you guys to put in the work on a daily basis. It's not something that you do once in a while.
Yeah.
Make it a daily effort to grow, to develop yourself in every way you could. So, lastly, can you tell us more about your Pinnacle? You mentioned the Pinnacle Global Initiative earlier,
Yes.
and I know for sure that it's a mental health initiative that do this mental health counseling and therapy session as well, because this is something we really need in this world. It's easy to get distracted, and you think you're doing well, right? Because you're always up and going, you're
Yeah.
always moving, but it's quite interesting when you sit with yourself, reflect on a lot of things. You can even develop to a point where it seems like this is something you would have done like in 2 years, but reflection will make you achieve it in like
Yeah.
30 seconds or 30 minutes, so to say. Can you just give us more into what you do?
Okay, thank you. So your Pinnacle Global Initiative is an NGO, is an international NGO, and it's funny because my plan was for it to be just Nigeria. When I was building the logo, when myself and my director was building the logo, when he did the logo, my spirit just said I should add international.
Okay.
So I did global, so make it quite global, not just in one country. So
Yeah.
I mean the mission is to educate people on mental health issues and just not dwell on poverty as an excuse. There's people who are in certain environments that poverty is one of the most economical concerns, but yet they are still happy.
Yeah.
It tells you a lot about whether poverty truly is the source or the trigger. But even in midst of darkness, there's people who are genuinely happy, and that's that tells you that comes from within. So we do a lot of work. We offer counseling sessions. We offer therapeutic support. We work with schools. We work with young people. I also have an elderly care service in Nigeria, and we offer recruitment and healthcare services to elderly people in their homes. And all this has actually come off your Pinnacle. Everything is still linked to your Pinnacle, so we use that to kind of give back to the community. We work with other international NGOs as well to support their mission. It's funny because I thought an NGO was there to kind of support people,
Okay.
but we've become an NGO that supports NGOs.
Wow, that's big.
So
big.
I I don't know how that's come about.
Yeah.
The vision has always been there, more on a collaborative side. But then when you realize that even as an NGO, you are blessed more than some other NGOs, and when you have, when you're a bit of a humanitarian, you
Yeah.
just give. That's just part of who you are. So recently we've been going to schools, secondary schools, primary schools, and psychoeducation,
Okay.
and allowing young people to start to get in tune with themselves. I think if we are able to connect with our inner self from a
Yeah.
young age,
Yeah.
we might be able to understand a bit more better. I mean, you have grown up adults who are starting to do that now. Can you imagine how much they need to unravel? Can you imagine how much they need to peel? It's we're talking about decades
Yeah.
of self, of a self that might not be true,
Yeah.
or a self that's come from influence.
What you might realize is could be a lot.
Yeah. So I've always kind of, I mean, even now I work with young people, even in my my main role as a children and young people's counselor. So I think it's very important to kind of start early, even if it's for them to recognize what emotions mean and how they feel and how they can express it and knowing where to go with it. You know, sometimes in a lot of, unfortunate environments, because we speak to the wrong people, they take advantage. They take advantage of that emotion and that vulnerability.
Yeah.
Or because they know that, okay, you're sad, okay, let me make you happy. That could go in so many different ways. But when they understand that, okay, maybe this is something that I don't understand, let me ask the people that are supposed to be there to safeguard us, kind of thing. So we do quite a lot of work with schools, and we have a lot of volunteers, and in fact the NGO has grown, and I've not even had to be there. I've been so fortunate to have wonderful people who work for me, and half of them are volunteers, and they do a lot. They see the vision, they see the mission, they believe in me, and I think that's what makes it powerful. That's what makes it move. Even being called a CEO, I don't know. It's just a word for me.
Okay.
I just feel like it's
Yeah.
just a word. The leadership, the internal leadership role for me is more important than the name as CEO. And I don't even have to talk to them every day to do that. Just knowing who I am is enough for them to draw from that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we are who we are, to share and pour into others, as long as we're pouring from a good place. So yeah, it's you can find us on TikTok, on Instagram, and on our website, and on Google. And I can share the details later on. It's not something I don't know. I'm very proud of it, but
Yeah.
I feel like there's still so much to do.
Yeah, there's a lot
There's a lot to
actually.
do. So, and I mean, we be, I'm so grateful. I use this platform to thank everyone who has ever, been
Connected with the
connected with
yes.
us, the NGOs that are referring serious cases to us. And, even this morning, I still had to uh, sort out an issue. So we have a lot of people calling in, and people who are suicidal, and these, most of them are in Nigeria. We do work with other. Right now, we have a project with NGO in Kenya. We've worked with an NGO in Burundi. We have connections with Uganda and Rwanda. So I see the vision and I see the mission, and I'm really patient, because I've been patient. Things have just kind of
Flow.
flow.
Fall in place.
And I don't run. I've never been a runner.
Yeah.
I'm very because I see the bigger picture. I think I'm very patient to allow that. I think, when you allow the bigger picture to form itself,
Yeah.
when it really bangs, it will bang.
Yeah.
And even at that point, I probably won't look surprised, and that's because I've processed that, and the Lord has prepared me for that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You know the word coming to my mind now.
yeah.
I can't remember the actual part in the Bible. It says that let your light so
Shine
shine
before me.
before men that they may see your good works and
Yes,
glorify your
for
Father.
them.
So when you kept saying, you don't have to speak to your employees, you don't have to speak to them, they know what to do, and they've been able to like glean from your
They wake me
over
up.
time.
They
Yeah.
are they are they are on it, and I've never met them before.
Really?
Yes, I've never met them before. I've not gone to Nigeria yet, and they are working, and we talk often, but I just put adverts out. I've never met them in person, and yet the devotion that they have, that's how I know that it's God led and it's spirit led. And I grew up in London, so I never imagined I would have an NGO or a company in Nigeria, and I was never interested in that. But when the idea came, when the vision came, and the instruction came, I just followed the instruction, and everything just manifested itself. So I'm very grateful for that. In that kind of situation, finding the people to trust has always been an issue. But God, everyone that I come across, and this is a prayer that I pray, that everyone that I come across, even you, as we're speaking in this moment, has to come from God. Anyone that is not coming because it's part of God's plan, even if an enemy comes as part of God's plan, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I know it's for a reason, and I know it's for a lesson, and I know it's
Yeah.
for vindication. So, I'm prepared for that. But anything that's not mine, that is not part of my journey, I don't know. I'm sending the signal to just don't bother. Don't even bother.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really believe in destiny, and destiny will manifest itself.
Definitely. Beautiful. So I realized that there is always either of two things. Either you're working towards or for the kingdom of God, or it's towards the kingdom of the enemy. So usually, just like what your Pinnacle Global Initiative does, the Unveiling Identity Workshop organized by the Ayoba brand, is the initial idea was, we noticed that there's this attack on the younger generation, and
Big time.
is always, it comes from, when a male and a female comes together and they want to build a family, the enemy is just always there to attack the family.
Yeah.
Majorly, not because it's so interested in the grown-ups, but because of the seeds, the children are going to come from that family. And we've noticed over time that if we're able to, let me use the word, catch them young, like you do, make sure that these children are in a good environment, they understand how to regulate their emotions, how to be in that good state of mind at a tender age. Then by the time they're grown ups, they won't have too many onions to peel, and understanding who you are and all of that. So I'm really seeing the connection, and it's so beautiful to me, because this is exactly what we do at the workshop. Trying to like bridge that gap, help especially artists, young professionals, and this young generation to understand that there's a deeper level to you than meets the highs, than what we see in social media and all of that. There's someone in there that you really need to identify, you really need to discover. And thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you.
Absolutely.
And I want to say thank you to everyone that has supported your Pinnacle Global Initiative in
Thank you.
Nigeria.
Thank you
Everyone
so
we've not
much.
met, like she said. Thank you guys so much for supporting this initiative. The truth is, you're not doing this for her. You're not doing this for yourself. You're actually doing this for God, or you're doing it for the world. And
For our future.
it's just beautiful, and it makes the world go round, and it makes everything beautiful at the same time.
Yes.
So I want to say thank you to every one of you. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do, and that is so that you can always be informed whenever we have a new episode, or we have something new for you, we have an information for you. You'll be at the core of the information we're bringing out. Also, don't forget to follow us on IG, on TikTok, and on Facebook as well. We'll always stay in touch and bring you things, information that would keep you on your toes, making sure that you're discovering yourself day by day. And that is the goal. And lastly, I want to say thank you once again.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure. I feel good.
I feel really calm.
Yeah. This is, I don't feel like ending this, but we have to go. All right, but definitely we're coming back, and definitely we're coming back when we have another topic. Usually these topics come when we're trying to like get what should we talk about, and we get the inspiration. This is what we really need to talk about, and I'm very sure that we'll call you again very soon.
It'll be a
we'll
pleasure.
able
Thank you.
to have another conversation on
Of
the
course,
channel.
that's fine. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
thank you. All right, thank you guys. Till we meet again. Make sure you stay bubbly, like I said, and God bless you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.